Hello, I'm Ron DiGregorio, President of USA Hockey. Thanks for being here. This video presentation you're about to watch highlights our new standard of play and rule enforcement and will provide you with the necessary information to successfully implement change in the way the game is played, coached, and officiated.
This video is designed to provide examples of both good plays and those situations where a player will gain a competitive advantage as a result of an illegal act. When played the right way, hockey is a game that is based on speed, puck possession, passing, stick handling, body checking, and body position. All of these plays are examples that show players gaining a competitive advantage as a result of their skills and not by the illegal use of the stick or arm. There are 5 basic principles that will guide the standard of play. They are: the use of the stick will be limited to only playing the puck. The stick will not be allowed to in any way impede a player's progress. The use of the free hand or arm will not be allowed to grab or impede a player's progress. Players who use their physical skills and/or anticipation and have a positional advantage shall not lose that advantage as a result of illegal acts by the opponent. Players will be held accountable for acts of an intimidating or dangerous nature. It is important to recognize that this standard of play does not eliminate several aspects of the game that are simply considered good hockey plays. These include lifting an opponent's stick to gain possession of the puck or prevent the opponent from playing the puck. These are some examples of good defensive plays. Using the stick to check the lower portion of the puck carrier's stick. In these examples, an effort is clearly being made to dislodge the puck from the opponent's stick. Battling for position by using size, strength, and speed in an effort to gain possession of the puck or maintain body position. These examples show players who are legally jockeying for position and ultimately possession of the puck. Using body position by maintaining normal foot speed and an established skating lane. In this situation, seen from 2 camera angles, the defensive player uses a nice poke check and then simply maintains his position. Good, clean, or hard body checks. These examples demonstrate how a legal body check can be an effective defensive play, separating the opponent from the puck. Now that we have reviewed the areas of the game that USA Hockey recognizes as proper plays, it is time to take a look at those illegal actions that the standard of play will eliminate. With each of these infractions, a competitive advantage is gained by some means other than pure skill. Let's start with hooking. A player cannot use his or her stick against an opponent's body to gain a positional advantage or to impede the opponent. Here are some examples of hooking infractions that must be called under all circumstances. In these next examples, the player uses the stick to attempt to slow down or close the gap with the opponent. In each instance, the defending player places their stick parallel to the ice surface and uses it to impede the opponent, and a penalty must be called. Next are 3 examples where the defending player is either beat by the opponent or simply being lazy. They place their stick in front of the opponent and lock on, preventing them from gaining an additional advantage. These types of acts should also be penalized whenever they occur. The final 2 hooking examples are a little more subtle, but equally as effective in taking away an advantage. In these situations, the hooking action is done solely on the hand or the arm of the opponent, which ultimately prevents them from being able to properly handle, pass, or shoot the puck. These 2 must be penalized in all instances. Tripping is another area that is addressed in the standard of play. A player cannot use his or her stick on the legs or feet of an opponent in a manner that would cause a loss of balance or for them to trip or fall. The first tripping example, shown from 2 different camera angles, is pretty clear-cut. This second example shows where an attacking gray player uses his stick to prevent the opponent from reaching his teammate who has possession of the puck. Another common defensive tactic is to place the stick between the legs of an opponent, limiting their mobility and/or ability to go in any direction. The second game clip gives multiple examples of this off of an end zone face-off. Although simply placing the stick between the legs is not a penalty, it does become an infraction whenever it causes the opponent to lose balance or impedes their mobility to skate. These tripping actions are expected to be called as penalties. Holding is also covered under the standard of play. A player cannot wrap his or her arms around an opponent or use a free hand to clutch, grab, or hold the stick, jersey, or body of the opponent in a manner that impedes their progress. The first holding example becomes very obvious as the play continues, but the infraction actually occurs the instant number 3 white uses the free arm to hold the opponent against the boards. In the second example, the gold player holds the stick of the white opponent, preventing him from being able to possibly gain possession of the puck. This next example shows the gray defenseman being beat to the outside, responding by attempting to slow the opponent down with the free arm. The final holding example shows the red player latching on with the arm even though the hand is still on the stick and steering the white player along the end boards, limiting his options with no effort to play the puck. This, just as with the other holding examples, should be penalized in all instances. For the standard of play initiative, interference can be defined as follows: the use of the body to impede the progress of an opponent with no effort to play the puck, maintain normal foot speed, or an established skating lane. When identifying interference, it is important to recognize that actions away from the puck carrier are common and can be labeled something other than interference. In these first two examples, the illegal action occurs away from the puck and are technically hooking actions. Officials are instructed to call these infractions in every instance, regardless as to whether they are on the puck carrier or away from the puck. Although the following examples all occur off of face-off situations, officials should also be aware of situations during play where a player uses his or her body to set a pick or a block. These commonly occur during power play situations, at the attacking blue line, or when a team is cycling in the attacking zone. Watch how the winger, wearing black, takes an unusual skating lane to block the gray player from getting out to the point on this face-off. This should be penalized as interference. In this example, the white defenseman prevents the red winger from getting to the loose puck by placing his stick between the legs, another example of interference. This final interference example shows multiple infractions by the white team during a defending zone face-off and suggests that this play may be a coaching strategy taught to the players. Under the new standard of play, this is no longer acceptable. Officials must enforce these infractions strictly, and coaches are expected to teach their players to play within the rules. Slashing, the use of the stick to intimidate or distract an opponent with a slashing motion and no effort being made to legally play the puck, is the final rule that is specifically covered under the standard of play initiative. In these first two slashing examples, the contact is made with the body of the opponent when no effort was made to play the puck. The final example shows the slash being made to the upper portion of the stick or even on the hand of the opponent. In either case, a penalty for slashing must be called. This video has shown many examples of infractions that occur that may not have been called as penalties in the past. However, under the new standard of play and rules enforcement initiative, they are definitely considered penalties. To make sure everyone is on the same page, the following enforcement expectations have been included as part of this initiative. Officials are expected to enforce these guidelines at all levels of play and under all circumstances throughout the game. Other infractions, including contact to the head, checking from behind, cross-checking, high sticking, and roughing, should also be enforced with the strictest standard. players are to be held accountable for all illegal actions of an intimidating nature or those illegal acts that provide them with a competitive advantage. All of us involved in hockey in the United States share an equal responsibility to ensure the integrity of the game is upheld. The onus to incorporate change is not only on the officials, but also the administrators, coaches, parents, and players alike. On behalf of USA Hockey, thank you for your participation in our great game. Best wishes for a successful season.